Welcome to the band of survivors, the front line where faith meets fire and scars tell stories. We walk through division, discipline, and difficult questions with the Corinthians. Now it's time for Paul's final word. Love like fire, resurrection like thunder, and a farewell that feels like a charge into battle. This is 1 Corinthians 13-16. What lasts? What's more enduring? Miracles or mercy? What's more powerful? Knowledge or kindness? In a church obsessed with gifts and status, Paul sets it off with a spiritual revolution. Not with lightning, not with thunder, with love. Then he stepped into the tomb itself, pulled back the stone, and shouted into the grave, "Where, O death, is your victory? Where, O death, is your sting?" When the Corinthians chased Paul pointed to resurrection. When they flaunted knowledge, he pointed to grace. And when they lost the plot, he handed them the greatest plot twist ever in the human history. Love never fails, and the tomb is empty. Chapter 13, the way of love. Now we're here, the most quoted chapter at weddings, framed on walls. But in Corinth, it was a rebuke, it was a confrontation. Great, you move mountain, amazing. You give to the poor, that's noble. But here's the thing, you can do all that, but if you don't love, it is all noise. No symphony, just a gong in an empty hallway. Paul didn't just define love, he dared them to live it. Love is patient, love is kind. It doesn't keep records of wrong. Love doesn't give up. Love never loses faith. It always hopes. It always preserves. This was Paul's mic drop. 13:13. And these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of this is love. Chapter 14, order in worship. I repeat, order in worship. The Corinth loved spectacle, wild tongues, loud prophecy, competing voices. It wasn't a worship service, it was a spiritual open mic. Everybody did what they felt like, but it was in their mind. Paul didn't say stop, he said refocus. Spiritual gifts are good, but the Spirit of God doesn't stir up chaos, He builds clarity. God is not a God of disorder, but of peace. Verse 33, prophecy should build up the church. Tongues should be interpreted. The Spirit is not a spotlight for ego, it is a flame that lights the whole church. Corinth more performance, it need more builders. Chapter 15, resurrection power. This is the chapter. No resurrection, no gospel. If Christ didn't rise, our preaching, everything that we're doing is pointless. Our faith is fake, our hope is a fantasy. But if he did rise, death is not the end. It is a doorway. Paul says death is the last enemy and Jesus already declared victory. Christ has indeed been raised from the dead, the first fruit of those who have fallen asleep. You will not rot in the grave. You will not be forgotten dust. You will rise, glorious, changed, alive, new body. Where, O death, is your victory? Where, O death, is your sting? Chapter 16, a father's farewell. After soaring theology, Paul comes down to earth with reminders, instructions, and greetings. It is easy to skip chapter 16, but don't. Here's what faithfulness looks like. Be generous, be alert, stand firm, be strong, and do everything in love. Yeah, it is not flashy, it is not front stage, front row, but it is where spiritual maturity is forged, in the mundane, in the consistency, in the unseen. Be on your guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong, and do everything in love. So what's the final thing that we can add to our survivors starter kit? We can see that the Corinthian church was a mess, and Paul loved them anyway. He didn't cancel them, he called them higher, into unity, into maturity, into love. Jesus doesn't demand perfection, he just asks for surrender. And this letter ends with a whisper of something greater. Resurrection is not a theory, it is a person. And he's still alive. So church, stand firm, speak in love, worship with purpose, and live like the tomb is still empty. Alright, thank you very much for joining us again to this Corinthians. This is Band of Survivors, where the bruised become bold, the broken become whole, and the gospel is more than just words, it is a warfare. Your scars have a purpose, your love is a weapon, your story is far from over. Until next time, stay firm, love deeply, and walk boldly towards the cross. Band, may the grace.